Welcome back to another episode of So What's Your Goal? I'm your host, Travis Otto. Now, you guys are going to want to pay attention to this next episode. We have an exceptional guest with us today in the studio. Now, we're live here from New Orleans, but our guest is calling in from the UK. Now, I'm going to kind of allude to a little bit about who this guy is, but he has a product that is a household name throughout the world. You've seen it, you might have worn it, you might have bought it, you might have sold it, but here's the deal, guys. We have today with us the founder of Reebok. Now, if you don't know what that company is, then you've probably been living under a rock for the last 30 years. But Reebok shoes, guys, international, huge brand. He actually ended up selling the company in the late 90s for almost $1 billion exit. Now, this is huge. This is a huge guest we have on the podcast today. I do want to give a special thanks and shout out to my friend JT Fox, who helped set this up. If you guys don't know who JT Fox is, he's the world's #1 business coach, and go give his channel a like and a follow. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Now, back to what's in it for you. So here's the deal, guys. For those of you who are new to the show, we have a lot of new listeners every day, all the time. And the new listeners, our goal here is to help you improve your life in one of three categories, either with your health, your finances, or your relationships, hopefully all three. But most importantly, guys, we want to inspire you to take action, to do something that's meaningful in your life, that will change your life in the direction of it, and hopefully help you get to your dream, whatever that may be. Now, without any further ado, guys, make sure you listen through to the end and welcome Mr. Joe Foster. Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Travis. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast, man. Thank you for your time.
Nice to be here. Yes. So what time is it for you?
It's about 8 a.m. where I'm at.
8 a.m.
Yeah. What about you?
We're now 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Okay. So very good, man. Well, thank you again for hopping on with me and a couple minutes of your time here. So I just had a couple of questions for you that I put together, and I'm sure you have some fantastic answers for me. But you being the founder of Reebok and all, one of my question is when you started Reebok, or when you got into this shoe business, were you chasing a dream, or like what was like the why behind why you got started?
Well, we got started because let me take you back to the family company, J.W. Foster. J.W. Foster, my grandfather invented the track spike.
Okay.
And you've got to go back to 1895 when he invented putting spikes in shoes to improve your running. So he built a good business, a fantastic business. But he died in 1933, and my father and uncle took over the business, and they didn't seem to have his vision. Because when my brother Jeff and I got into the business, we saw it was failing.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't persuade either my uncle or my father to do anything about that. In fact, they didn't speak to each other, which is probably one of the reasons why the business was going down.
Family business is tough.
That's it. That was the family business. So Jeff and I left in 1958 to set up our own company,
Mm-hmm.
which we did, and eventually that became Reebok, which we changed the name. We had a problem. We started off as Mercury Sports Footwear, and we ended up with Mercury, which is a far better name. And there's a story in there, but that there was no motivation to be in there except we needed to earn money. We
Got it.
needed a living. we needed a living, so that's how we started. But we also recognized the fact that my father and uncle had not taken care of the business. They were just feuding all the time. And Jeff and myself, when we started out, what we needed to recognize the fact that you can start a business, but you've got to push it forward. You've got to keep it motivated. You've got to keep it going, and you've got to take it as far as you can and keep on moving. We recognize that.
Yeah.
And so eventually Reebok became #1. We overtook Adidas and we overtook Nike in the late 80s, and we became the #1 athletic shoe company globally.
Yeah. So was it all so what I mean, once you got started, you started making some money. I mean, was it were you my question really is for you personally, like, you obviously started making some money, but at any point in time were you chasing the dream, like, the mansion by the ocean or the yacht or the fancy cars, or were you doing it because you just love what you were doing? Like what was your why?
Yeah, I don't think, because I do get the question these days, what was your exit plan? And I think what you're saying is, what was my exit plan?
Yeah,
And,
I guess so.
yeah, and we didn't have an exit plan because we didn't know where we were going to begin with. So The journey was how tall is the mountain? How much do we have to push? And so really the fun and the pleasure that I had with the business was just keep moving it forward, keep moving, keep look for the different ideas. We when we left the family business, we'd no money.
Mhm.
And the soccer business in the UK had been taken over by Adidas. So we had to look for white space. Where can we go? What can we develop our brand in? And we had to go into what we called it white space, which was cross-country running, or there was orienteering, and there was rugby league. Rugby league was a very small sport in those days in the north of England. So we had to look for that. And when we became sort of number one in the UK as a running company, and running was really growing in America, we knew that was a place we had to go to. Although my first trip was in 1968, and it was 1979 before we actually got traction in the USA.
Wow.
Uh, that's 11 years, but we were enjoying it. We were having fun. We were developing our business, and we were doing very nicely in the UK and in some other markets. But we wanted to get into the USA. We got there because we produced a shoe which got 5 stars from Runner's World, and I'd been pushing for 11 years. All of a sudden, that gave us credibility.
Mm.
People wanted to buy our product, and that got us on the market.
They got you on the market. So I guess that kind of leads into my next question, is, what do you have to do to build a worldwide, recognized brand like Reebok? And I was reading up on some of your past interviews that you've done, and you had mentioned that, getting influencers to buy into your product or service, right? Is kind of what gives you that credibility to build that. Do you think what you've done in the past is replicatable today?
Oh, definitely. It's even more important to do it today because we have the means. Social media gives us the means to use influencers. Uh, Before we had computers and smartphones, I had to
Mhm.
travel, and to make contact, you had to travel an awful lot. You had to go to events. Now you can do this with computers. To be able to Zoom and do what we're doing today, it is incredible. But influencers, but it doesn't. We had athletes. Athletes started to promote the athletic brands. Now, we'll say sneakers. Sneakers are a fashion, and
Mhm.
as fashion, everybody's wearing a sneaker or shoes which have been influenced by sneakers, and
Sure.
as such, your influencers now are podcasters. Your influencers are there's so many out there,
Yeah.
and it's moved away from just pure sport.
Sure. So let me ask you this question. So if you could go back in time and just kind of take us there, when you got your very first, athlete, like what did you do? What did you say? How did you get your first influencer? How'd that go about? I'm curious.
Well, we go about getting our first influencers by okay, you can advertise and promote in what we used to magazines, but you
Mhm.
have to go to events. You have to go to events and meet those people. And when you meet those people, you have a conversation and you see if they wear your product. In those early days, you could just give them product. Now, now you have to pay, and you have to pay lots and lots of money. But
Yeah.
yeah, first influence, we just gave. In
Yep.
fact, if you go to aerobics, Jane Fonda actually bought a pair of Reebok aerobic shoes and used them in her videos, in her fitness videos, and
Mhm.
that gave us some. That just blew the company into space. I mean, it really took us from 9 million to 900 million in 4 years, and that was it. Influencers are there to start that.
So that brings up something that you just sparked a question for me. So you said you went from 9 million to 900 million.
Correct.
So how did you, I mean, running a, a company under $10 million is much different than running a company in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Were you prepared for that, or, did
No.
you have to make a lot of changes, pivots? Like how'd that pan out?
Well, what you do is you build a culture, you build a winning culture, and
Mhm.
in a winning culture, a lot of people want to come and work with you.
Sure.
And when people come and work with you, and you start to make money. financing that 9 million to 900 million, that was the first problem. But we got somebody who would give us a credit line.
Okay.
So we got a credit line, and they were producing our product in the Far East. So they had a piece of every shoe. So they gave us a credit line. So that answered that. But the biggest problem was from wanting a few thousand pairs of shoes in a month, we wanted millions. We
Yeah.
wanted 5 million pairs. And the biggest problem there is how the factories can't just turn on like that.
Mhm.
A product takes so much time to make, and factories just couldn't do it. So we got really lucky when we were growing it really fast. Nike hit a wall, and they found themselves with too much inventory. They had to pull out of 4 factories. We moved straight in. And so, yeah, we got that piece of luck that allowed us to increase our production. Because if we hadn't have done that, who knows? We'd have
Yeah.
starved, we'd have starved the market. Then people like Adidas and Nike would have realized that they needed to move in. By the time they didn't realize that, it was too late. We'd overtaken them both.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. So a little bit of luck right there. So what did you mentioned something about creating like a winning culture, where everybody wins. Like what did, what was can you define your culture? Like what were you guys all about there that made it so attractive? Obviously you're growing fast, it's exciting, celebrities are starting to wear your products. Like what made your winning culture,
You've just answered it there.
Okay.
Celebrities wearing, yeah. When you see celebrities, when you're winning races, you're winning gold medals, these sort of things, people get excited, and
Hmm.
they love to work with you. So you managed to bring a lot of people in, and a lot of the people that started to work with Reebok or for Reebok were athletes themselves. Athletes came in and they work for us. So that's what builds the culture, that people seeing the results. And we were in that sort of business, the athletic shoe business. You see the results, and
Yeah.
if you see the winning results, that's your winning culture, and people love to be part of a winning company.
So let me take you back in time again because I love hearing stories about, success. So is there a defining day or moment in time when you just can look back and go, damn, that was the day that I realized that like we made it? Or did you ever have that moment or did it never come?
Well, we had one or two of those moments, and I guess the first moment was in 1979. We got our 5-star ratings. We got 3 shoes. Runner's World really was a Bible in those ages. Runner's World was a Bible for runners, and everybody, all you needed to run was a pair of shoes and a pair of shorts. So you could go out running either just for fitness or you could join one of the races. And so really. Yeah, the time when we got that 5 stars is the time when instead of just trying to push onto the market, those 5 stars gave us credibility. All of a sudden, people reading the magazine, oh, Reebok, 5 stars, must buy a pair. So
Yeah.
then people wanted us then, and that was it. When Jane Fonda bought those shoes and used it in a video, all the women thought, fantastic, we need a pair of those. And so those are the moments. Jane Fonda buying a pair of aerobic shoes,
Mhm.
and now our running shoes is a 5-star rating. So
Fine.
those things bring that, and then you grow from that. And one of the best things that we developed was the pump. I don't know if you remember the pump.
Mm.
Uh,
Might have been before me. I'm 32, so I was born in 91. I think it might have been before me.
Oh, well, it was about the early 90s when the pump was developed. You wouldn't be old enough to acknowledge that, but I mean, today you're going to see the pump again in America. You're going to see it because Reebok now a part of ABG, and we've got Shaquille O'Neal. So Shaq is now head of basketball again there, and they're pushing basketball, and they're going to be pushing the pump. So you'll probably see it. It was
Okay.
a big innovation at the time.
Yeah. Interesting. So are you still pretty involved with Reebok? You still on the board still, or are you
No,
completely?
no, I'm not involved, which is very good. I can criticize or I can compliment and whatever, and I don't have to take any of the slack. I've had no problems with that. That
Yeah.
uh, Reebok is sold differently now. It's sold through licensees, so they've licensed it. For instance, they've licensed the brand to India for 40 years. So the 40-year license, that's a big one,
Mhm.
and and India now creating stores, Reebok stores. They're going to build 300 Reebok stores in India. And in Australia, we know the guys in Australia, and we've been down there and visited the malls and things. So we know a lot of the new distributors, and so it's very good. It's great. I don't have to worry about Reebok, uh, but I can enjoy the new Reebok, which is again going to become something to. It's going to become big because
Yeah.
Nike have some trouble at the moment.
Must be awesome to sit back and just watch it evolve without you. You know, like you created that and now it's just its own thing now. Must be pretty cool to see.
Well, that's
Uh
one thing being a founder. They can't change a founder.
nope, you can't change the pattern. That's the one thing they can't change. So we got a couple minutes left here. I know you're a busy guy still. So just my last question is, knowing what you know now, you've been through life, you've been around the sun quite a few times, and you've built a ridiculous empire. It's amazing. If you could go back to your 20-year-old self and give you one piece of advice, what would that be?
Well, it would be just keep going, expect problems, but when you get a problem, think of it as an opportunity,
Hmm.
because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Any challenge or any problem is an opportunity. We changed our name from Mercury, where we started, and we became Reebok. We changed our silhouette from two stripes and T-bar to the Vector, and that was a better view. So the challenges we got, we found we could work them to be opportunities. And if you can remember that, just keep going and have fun. The main thing is have fun.
Yeah, there's one saying that I heard the other day is the man who loves the journey will go farther than the man who only loves the destination. I don't know if you ever heard that one or not, but you kind of sound like you just love the journey, man, and that's why you went so far.
I guess what way we say that is better to travel than arrive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to say it too, a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
But awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, Joe. You have a great one and good luck to you.
Nice. Thank you, Travis. And whatever you're doing and whatever you do in the future, I hope you enjoy it and I hope you're very successful.
Thank you. Appreciate you.